Hello and welcome back to Homeschool Together. We're back from Rio Carnival and fully dressed this time. We had a good time in the past couple of weeks studying Brazil in the rainforests of Brazil. But before we go, we had India last week. We forgot a book. Miss Ariel read a chapter book.
Right.
I want to make sure we mention that from last week's episode.
Right. There's a Greetings from Somewhere, Mystery of the Mysterious Spices.
Suspicious
Suspicious. I was going to say,
Suspicious
it's not two mysteries. Suspicious Spices. So just note that that's a great book to read for India. Sorry, we saw it on the shelf and went, oh no.
We talk about a chapter book. We might as well talk about this week's chapter book. Race the Wild Rainforest Relay.
This is a really good series from Scholastic.
This is the first one in the series.
Yes, it is the first one. So it's about kind of like a, I don't know, did you guys ever watch, like, what was it called? Eco Challenge?
The Eco Challenge, the one in Fiji.
Well, so there's been all kinds of them where they basically have some sort of an adventure race that they have to traverse all kinds of different landscapes and things, and they work as a team.
Yep.
This is the same concept. If you've never seen one of those are really cool. Definitely see if you can check it out.
On Amazon Prime, right?
I think the last one in Fiji was Amazon Prime.
I'll put it in the show notes.
And there's that new movie, Arthur the King, that's about a dog that was with one of the Eco Challenge teams and astray and helped them. And anyway, it looked like a heartstrings book. Anyhow.
The dog survives.
I digress. This is the same kind of a eco race type thing with kids. And they're racing through the Amazon. And there's a lot of learning to work as a team. And every chapter, I think it's every chapter at the end, has a real factual sheet about the animals that they encounter and stuff. So lots of great science and animal science mixed in with these books. And they're really fun. I would say they're a little bit above kindergarten.
Yeah, I would go with a little bit older. If you have older
like
students.
Second grade.
Yeah, you can see here there are not as many pictures, so it's harder to keep the attention on that younger student.
She did like it, but I think it's more geared towards that.
Greetings from Somewhere is better for our kinder age. This is better for maybe like an older, maybe like first or second grader.
Yeah, I think it's kind of a second grade book, but it's very good and Scholastic does a good job.
So first book, Along the Tapajos, which is a river in the Amazon. And this is a story about these small towns that live along the river, and based on what time of the year the river is at, you're either in the heavy rainy season or you're in the dry season, and the river can swell up and down about 30 feet. And these people live on these stilted homes on the banks, and during the rainy season they have to pack all of their stuff and hoof it into the neighboring area and then live there for that time period and then come back when the river comes back down. So it's very wild story, very wild lifestyle. And my youngest was like, wow, that's really crazy to think about packing up all of your stuff. I mean, I was telling her, like, what if we took all your toys and put it on a boat and had to sail upriver for 6 months? That's
interesting. We're continuing that trend. We talked about like people who had to live in nomadic ways, and or several times a year had to live in different places. I think that's really interesting.
Absolutely,
we kind of continue that, but in a totally different climate.
So then we also have the sock thief, which young boy going around town trading fruit for socks, and you don't know what he's using all the socks for, and you find out at the end it's a soccer ball. My youngest was upset at the title of this. He goes, he wasn't a sock thief, he was a sock borrower, because at the end he got the socks back to the owners, and they enjoyed their fruit taking the socks. So it was just a cute story about a young boy building a soccer ball out of socks.
I think it's really great though, because it definitely shows the difference, right? That we have many different types of sports balls in our garage and in our sports rack, and they just go out and grab a soccer ball, but thinking like he doesn't have one, so he's making one. And about the commitment that they have in Brazil to soccer and how big soccer is there. So I think it was cool. This hit on multiple levels and gave our kids some good perspective. So I think it's a good story.
What's cool about these like unfolding mystery books, what I like about it is I like to ask a lot of questions during them. It's like, what do you think it's going to happen? She goes, I don't know. I was like, well, what's he going to do the socks for? Sock puppets? And you can ask all these like inference questions in the story. And
then you see as your child starts to put it together that they're kind of starting to get, wait a second, I think this is for a toy. Wait a second, and so.
It's a good book to ask a lot of questions.
Yeah, it's a sweet story. I like it.
Zonia's Rainforest.
So we spent the first week really kind of focusing on Brazil as a whole and Rio. And then the second week we really wanted to focus on our biome, which was rainforest. And this is a cute story about a girl who's grown up in the rainforest and all the friends that she has. It's a bit fantastical because she's like friends with the giant python and all the things. And our youngest kept going like, Mommy, that is not smart. Mommy, I don't think she should do that.
She very rules oriented.
She is. She's like, I have a bad feeling about this, mommy. Like so it's a bit fantastical.
That is so her too.
I think it's got beautiful art and it's cute, but definitely she's interacting with, she's got all of these rainforest friends that are all some of them deadly predators. I'm just saying. So
magic.
Yeah. A little fanciful, but very sweet.
Kids scientists, insect experts in the rainforest. So if you're doing the rainforest biome, we have 2 books here actually. The other one's in the rainforest, very much in line with, say, like a kind of a magic school bus type of book where there's a lot of information.
But without any like Miss Frizzle or transforming school buses.
Exactly.
This one's cool because it's all about insects, which you don't usually get when you're talking about the rainforest. And then this one's
a little bit more informational.
Yeah, this is the Read and Find Out Science series, and so you're going to get all of these extra little. I think
we've done a couple of
pop-outs.
these now, yeah, and just a lot of like information with like kind of like a light underlying story. So.
They're really good.
It just depends on what you're interested in. If you can get one or the other, I think they're a good ad for the
Yeah,
week.
I think this one's probably my favorite in the rainforest.
And then we have a bunch of these, which we call the yellow books. This is the National Geographic Kids book. This one's the one on rainforest. Again, very low-level informational book here. You'll see in the pictures, there's just not a lot of information on each page, but just enough talking about animals, the biome.
Super bright and colorful, which we love, and our daughter loves.
Exactly, yeah.
She could just spend an hour looking through this book.
Great thing to put into your rotation if you're looking for biomes. There's a bunch of these yellow, they call them the yellow books.
I think just we call them the yellow.
We call them because
they're the National Geographic Kids.
We have like 8 or 9 of these, so they're just like
this happens to be one of them we didn't have. I had to get it from the library.
Oh, really? Okay. Well, we have a bunch of these, and really, this is the one from the library.
Yeah.
So yeah, we have a bunch of these, and they're just really nice to pull off the shelves. Kind of like a kind of old school. I think it was like a
mini encyclopedia.
Mini encyclopedia. Yeah.
But it's kind of cool. They don't talk about all the facts. They just really pick and choose, and they highlight the things that they think the kids will be most interested in. If there's something really, really weird or different or whatever, they highlight those pieces. So
these are really good if you have like kind of a writing project for an older student, like a 3rd grader, and you want them to do kind of a little report or maybe write some paragraphs and stuff. These are good books for them to be able to read through, kind of pull that information and go ahead and write something. So. Really nice for multiple uses here, especially if you're pulling some older learners along with you.
Yeah, I think so too.
So this week I listen to movies in the car while my littles are driving around, and I got to listen to Rio 1 and Rio 2.
Rio 2 I think happened a couple of times maybe because they kept rewinding to sing songs again.
There were songs in the movies that they kept. My oldest can reach up to it now. She can change the chapter on the DVD player, and so I just hear them giggling and laughing and singing songs. So Rio 1, Rio 2.
They're both really. We've seen them so many times, so we didn't have to watch them with them again. But they're very cute movies. If you only see one, just see Rio 1, and it's great because at the end of it, it's all about Carnival, and we decided purposely to study this during Carnival.
So we had busy weeks. Arrow's very busy at work.
Yeah.
Doing all the hard things. And me doing all the hard things as well, finishing up my school stuff. I was in the office writing like my last paper, and you guys were watching Carnival in the other room, and all I heard was, they are not wearing many clothes.
Right.
Why are they naked?
Yes. So at first the little one was very concerned. She goes, Mommy, are they cold? They look like they must be cold. I go, no, honey, it's actually very warm there.
Summer there.
It's very hot there. And then
you could see by the glistening of the bodies.
At some point, my older daughter was like, what? She's not wearing like a full bra, but there's just something over the front. And I was like, okay, we're in the pasty territory. So here's what I'd say about Carnival. It was really cool to watch.
Yeah, the outfits.
Right. There's some scantily clad things going on. I think that we watched a bunch of it live, which was really cool because it was like an event. We felt like we were part of it.
Did they have the good footage of like down that kind of like stadium thing?
Yeah, they did. But I actually found that I thought watching it live was cool because we knew that it was happening at the same time. But I actually found that the highlights videos on YouTube actually ended up being a bit better because they showed each float just for a couple of minutes and then went on to the next float, and it wasn't quite so much. I felt like the live camera was much more about the shots of the not very clothed women, and those cameramen were right up in there, whereas I felt
they were earning their money.
Yeah, they were just, not that there was anything wrong with that, but they were just like, that was the whole focus of the show. Whereas I felt like the the ones that had the YouTube compilation videos of like the best floats and stuff, those actually ended up being better than the live show because they were showing just the most fantastical floats with, you know, animatronic moving parts and stuff like that. And just the costumes and the decorations and the dancers were just amazing. So
Cool.
Yeah, I thought it was going to be great. I thought it was so smart. We're going to do this when Carnival is live. And I don't think, or maybe I didn't find the right stream. But I tried a couple of them, and I thought that actually a highlight of the best of floats was a better way to go. So,
absolutely.
Just my 2 cents.
Did a little bit of food as well. You went to Trader Joe's, had some Brazilian cheese puffs.
So you could make some of the Brazilian cheese breads. We did just go to TJ's for them because actually they stayed in the freezer for quite some time. I'm like, we're going to study Brazil 3 months from now. I'm getting these cheese breads because we don't go to Trader Joe's often. But then we did make Brazilian brigadeiros.
Brigadeiros? Yeah, they're
I'm
like
probably saying
little
it wrong.
truffles. They're little truffles rolled in.
It's like sweetened condensed milk with cocoa and vanilla and salt.
They were tremendous.
Yeah, and you roll them in nuts or sprinkles. Anyway, that's from the junior cookbook, Cooking Class Global Feast junior cookbook, which is a great cookbook if you're looking to do all kinds of recipes from around the world. Super easy to make. They were delish. And it really was a nice way to round out our time in Brazil. I thought it was great.
It was a good 2 weeks.
Yeah, it was a great 2 weeks. We learned a lot about the rainforest, and we saw some cool videos, and yeah, we listened to Rio a couple of times.
Where are we going next, Ariel? We have a decision.
So I think we might do Canada. I'm not sure. We had intended to do kind of a roundup of the U.S., but we actually decided we're going to save that for a little bit later.
Yeah.
And so
when she talks about U.S., we're going to be doing all the various areas of the U.S.
We wanted to do the kind of the 4 quadrants: south, northeast,
south,
Midwest, and west.
Yeah.
So that's what we wanted to do, and take a month to do it. But we're not ready to do it quite yet. So I'm either thinking about Canada or Ecuador and the Galapagos. I don't know. We'll see what I can get at the library and what strikes our fancy. Or maybe we'll do something completely different, and maybe we'll do...
Are they going to have to stay tuned for the mystery?
Netherlands, or I'm not really sure. There's plenty of places that we haven't gotten to yet.
Yep.
And because I now have some bonus time in my schedule, we will figure it out. But stay tuned and see where we're going next.